Well, WWE actually went and did it. The internet is melting down. Social media is going crazy. That's my favorite thing in the world because it means we get to sit down and talk about things. And the headline, I'm sure you've already heard, or you would have seen it from the thumbnail and the title of my video. Cody Rhodes is a champion once again. The graphic is already out for Cody versus Randy at WrestleMania, so I doubt all of a sudden we're going to pivot to a multi-man. I think one of the reasons WWE did do this is because they don't want to do a multi-man, but we have to talk about it. You would agree with me. Don't forget the comment box is right down there. Give it away. Please do give me a subscribe as well. But yes, go and get your coffee, go and get your stack of choice, and let's talk about a three-time WWE champion, Mr. Cody Rhodes. Now, I liked it. Let's just get out of the way straight away, which is a stupid sentence, just so that you can already go mad, which is totally fine. I just appreciate you being here, and I appreciate you caring. And two things can be true here. It doesn't mean that I'm not disappointed for Drew McIntyre. I would have loved Drew McIntyre to be in the main event of WrestleMania, but I'm also happy to sort of take all that stuff out of my brain and just look at it from what do I want to see at WrestleMania, and you will know, if you've watched any of my videos for the past couple of years, what have I been advocating for? Cody Rhodes versus Randy Orton, and no, not the King of the Ring match. Honestly, you have to be so literal on social media these days. I wrote, finally, we get Cody Rhodes versus Randy Orton. I didn't mean a singular match. Of course I don't. Why? Why does it have to happen? Slap your head. I mean in a proper feud, and I mean promos, and I mean talking about legacy, and I mean talking about the past, and I mean talking about the fact that Randy Orton was always a mentor to Cody, and the fact that Cody always looked up to Randy, and they had fallings out, and all of this kind of stuff. This stuff is drowning in layering, in depth, and a bunch of other shamash that you'll be able to talk about, much like you can with CM Punk and Roman Reigns. It's why I'm excited about it. Again, just in case you didn't hear the first time round, still the same for Drew. But ultimately, when you looked at Drew options, Cody versus Drew, we've done it too much. Drew McIntyre versus Jacob for 2, the only way to get there would be to completely wreck the point of the Elimination Chamber. I don't want to do that. And the only third one I can come up with on a singular basis is Randy Orton versus Drew, and we've done that match as well. I really do think, and 6 weeks is enough, okay? Some people say we could have done a longer-term story. Absolutely. Drew McIntyre could have won this championship back at WrestlePalooza, and then Randy Orton could have turned heel at the end of last year. Whatever you want to do, I would have been happy with that. But I also understand that things quite clearly have changed dramatically on this road to WrestleMania, so I'm just happy that I'm going to get there. Like, all the evidence is there. I'm not just making this up. If you want to be a massive nerd, someone right now apparently told me on social media they're trawling through my videos to prove me wrong. That's a waste of your life, bro. I'm not that important. But it's an interesting one, because could WWE have done it better? Yes. Am I still glad they got there? Yes. Once again, do I still feel like Drew's kind of pulled the short straw here? Yes. But at the same time, if he hadn't have won that 3 stages of hell, trying to worm him back into the title picture would have been near impossible. Now, he just lost his belt because of, arguably, interference from Jacob for 2. So he does have an out as well. And he also had Cody Rhodes pinned, but of course the referees were down, and then Drew McIntyre headbutted another referee. So there's so many check boxes here that at some point in 2026 to bring Drew back into the world title picture. And if he had lost at 3 stages of hell, my gosh, you would have had to come up with one of the most justifying stories in the history of wrestling. And I remember when he did one, we said it here, and I think a lot of people agree with me. Not that you have to, but I mean, it has to be some people that are on the same page. Drew McIntyre winning on that January SmackDown and even losing at the Royal Rumble was enough for us, because we didn't want to see him lose again in a big time opportunity. So I kind of find it weird now that we're trying to forget about that and go, wow, we were so close. And I also, to be completely honest with you, I think Cody versus Randy is going to be great. Now, I'm not going to get into it again because we talked about it yesterday and I've kind of just given you the headlines. But if WWE does this right and turns one of them heel, I think we should go completely old school wrestling with this. One good guy, one bad guy. We don't need shades of grey. We've got shades of grey with CM Punk versus Randy Orton. CM Punk versus Roman Reigns. This one should be far more of a, oh my gosh, I can't believe you did that. And I hope WWE has plans for one of them. I still think it should be Randy Orton, because I think the Cody Rhodes heel turn, while on the agenda at some point, I don't think we're there now. Listen to the pop when he won last night in the live buildings. I know social media is totally drawn down the middle, but live-wise and attendance-wise and merchandise-wise, he's still doing great. But I also just think it's better for the rest of the card as well. Jacob for 2 versus Drew McIntyre, to me, is a big match. Of course, not as big as the main event or having a world title on the line, but because I think WWE should still have major plans for Drew in 2026, and because we need to light a fire under Jacob for 2, absolutely, I think WWE need to sit down and come up with some awesome creative for that. Now, that's obviously easier said than done. Right now, we're not going to go into it, but that is WWE's job. I'm not saying they're like, it's your job to give me good creative, but it is, right? It's their whole point is to put on a show that's entertaining, makes you go, wow, even though so-and-so lost, what are they going to go do next? And the absolute sort of asterisk hanging over all of this is Sami Zayn. I love this direction we're going with Sami Zayn. He fell out with Cody Rhodes last night, apparently just wanted to wish him well, but then he was saying, why are you even getting a title shot? You lost the Elimination Chamber. Talked to Randy Orton, and even though he won the Chamber, it's like, well, you did take advantage of what Drew McIntyre did. So we're kind of teasing that Sami Zayn could go heel, which I would pull the trigger on. And then I think he should win the world title in 2027, and that should be his redemption arc back to being a babyface. But the more I think about it, I don't know what else you can do with Sami at the moment in this babyface role. I do think he needs to go through the mire a little bit. And the cool thing is, Sami Zayn in WWE has never really been that kind of a heel, right? I don't want to say he's a comedy heel, but it was the conspiracy theory stuff and, you know, all those bizarre, well, just the bizarre way that Vince McMahon saw him, really. Not that he wasn't entertaining, but I think there's far more to it. But seeing him falling out with other babyfaces and kind of justifying it, I thought that was excellent. And I think he will. I do now think it's going to be Jacob versus Drew, and I think it's going to be Trick versus Sami, even though they haven't interacted yet. And I think Sami Zayn will turn heel. I think Trick Williams will turn face. That's what we should do anyway, as far as I'm concerned. And it gives you, well, it just shakes up the pack on SmackDown moving into the second half of 2026, which I think is a massive plus. I don't want to get away from the fact that Cody versus Drew was a good old match as well. Again, plenty of nonsense and sports entertainment with the referees, and then Drew McIntyre's going to use a chair, which is when Jacob for 2 makes a save, which is interesting. Not really targeting Cody Rhodes anymore. Very specific to Drew McIntyre. Cody hits the Cody cutter, gets the Crossroads 1, 2, 3. Totally agree. A negative of this was he only hit 1 Crossroads. We talked about this. I knew it was going to happen eventually because in big matches, Cody kind of fell into a tendency to use 2, 3, sometimes even 700. Remember the Crossroads off the top of the post or the top of the turnbuckle at whenever the Flubby took on Seth Rollins? Was that Night of Champions? I can't remember. It was too much. Now, I would imagine maybe Cody went into this year saying, I think we need to get it back to 1. CM Punk is very good at trying to protect the GTS, I find. I think everybody should be doing that, but we're still not far enough removed. So hopefully, actually, we can look back on this one and say, oh, thank goodness, we've gone back to finishes being finishes. Maybe this wasn't the time to do it because I do think you should have protected Drew as much as possible. And Drew McIntyre still has been awesome. I know it's only been a 60-day run or whatever it was, but you can put as much worth into that as you can a 1,360-day Roman Reigns run. Like some people criticize that run too because they're like, well, he did these times he wasn't on TV and he had massive pauses or breaks when he even defended the title. I think one year he only defended the title like 8 times or something crazy. Now, Drew didn't really have any massive singles matches. It was more of a story-based thing. I don't like this idea that he was a transitional champion. I disagree with that at all. I think, ultimately, wrestling needs to be about stories. I still think WWE changed the story, but still, and the story is now interesting. Drew winning at 3 Stages of Hell, interesting. Wanted it to happen, didn't think it was going to happen. Cody then wins it back on SmackDown. That's 2 world title changes on TV. All of a sudden, Randy Orton is in the mix. Again, Randy Orton is like the dad of Cody Rhodes. Drew McIntyre can now be angry at Jacob for 2. Jacob for 2 needs to climb the card. Sami Zayn's being weird in the distance. Trick Williams still getting in the face of Randy Orton. If Randy Orton wins that championship at WrestleMania, which he certainly could do, all of a sudden he's got a feud with Trick. And if Randy Orton goes heel, and that's how you go and get to the Cody stuff, and then Trick Williams is a babyface, that's super interesting as well. Then again, this is the other point. People are saying, oh man, it's too soon. It's too close to WrestleMania to do Randy versus Cody. I don't want this to be a one and done. I totally agree with you that the best WrestleManias in the past have been when the build has started way earlier than this, and WrestleMania acts as the closing off of a feud, and then we start the new season on Raw the next day. But we're not doing that, right? Quite clearly, WWE isn't doing that anymore. So let's just accept where we are, and let's come up with a 3-run program for Cody and Randy now. So it starts at WrestleMania, it goes through Backlash, and then whatever the flub the next one would be. I always get confused because the names seem to change, even though it's probably in my brain. Some people have messaged me going, oh, you're just too positive. This is nothing to do with being positive. This is quite literally me watching the show and going, great, I'm getting Cody versus Randy. I'm excited about that. At the same time, shame for Drew McIntyre. I feel like he's been put in a very difficult position, although still done really, really well with that world title run. That is just how I feel, like it is. And if you want to be the super crazy people to go, he's only saying that to get a job in NXT, you're officially insane, okay? You're just absolutely insane. I've been doing this 10 years. I've never been offered an NXT contract, right? Because they're not mad. It's a business. It's a company. They are not going to be handing out wrestling contracts based on me wiggling my finger around or saying positive stuff on the internet. You sound crazy, okay? And I love having disagreements with people about this. I love engaging in it. But when you come back with that nonsense, there's nothing we can do. Like one person I wanted to talk about the story with, and they were like, well, clearly Triple H hates Drew McIntyre. Oh my God. We don't know about that. I want to talk about the stuff we're seeing on the screen. I'm going into my rant phase again, and I promised I wouldn't do that. That's a lie. I promised I would do it more. Ultimately, I did like it. I thought it was a really good match. I think Drew McIntyre is great. I think Cody Rhodes, as far as I'm concerned, is still a whiter than white meat good guy babyface, which is another reason why I'm riding this Cody Rhodes train until the wheels do come off. And I hope WWE does the same. We have had so many ambiguous top guy babyfaces forever. John Cena was a 50-50 guy. Roman Reigns was a 50-50 guy. Even Steve Austin, obviously, the best babyface ever, but he was an anti-hero babyface, right? Cody Rhodes, a proper old school, oh my gosh, I love everything, I'm going to be a good guy. I've needed that for so long, especially when you compare it to what the rest of the world is doing. It will run out of legs. Everything runs out of steam in pro wrestling. You can't continue it. But as for now, like I say, I'm sticking on this nice train because nice is nice and I like nice. So that's truly how I feel. Not trying to be controversial, not trying to be positive, not trying to be negative. I mean, I kind of expected it. I mean, I think a lot of people presumed that Cody wasn't going to win. And I understand that when you set your own expectations and you don't get them, it kind of hits you right in the tum-tum. But I was like, I think that's what we should do. Randy Orton winning the Chamber, good idea. Cody winning this, good idea. And I don't like this idea that Drew McIntyre's been relegated to taking on Jacob Fatu. I think that's an insult to Jacob Fatu. Jacob Fatu is a future main eventer, right, at WrestleMania. And I think Drew McIntyre has the superstar power and the experience and all these other words in order to help him get to that next level. And sometimes that is what you need to do, but I also completely believe that when that objective is done, Drew McIntyre can have at least one more WWE title reign, and everyone's going to be happy in the House of Wrestling. But I enjoyed the end of the show. I thought it was fun. I got into it. Again, SmackDown at 3 hours I always find difficult, but I think right now they actually do have a groove. There are a lot of... what's the word I'm looking for? We'll call it downs. You know what I'm talking about. Check it out, freelance reviews on What Culture Wrestling. But there were a lot of downs during the show, but I didn't think any of them sort of took away from what we're planning to do. Although saying that, I do think we're going to have to do more with Rhea and Jade. So we had the big confrontation between the two. You may have noticed I didn't talk about all the social media stuff because we don't know. And I think sometimes people, especially in the modern day, like to just make stuff up. Well, I know this, you don't know nothing. However, I can sort of look at evidence that is given to me. And yes, they didn't really mention what had happened online. So I'd imagine things got out of control. I hope they're all okay. I never want anyone to be sad because it's wrestling. It's the most important, the least important things. But I'm glad we're not doing this. I'm so bored of worked shoots like I just am. And listen, CM Punk and Roman Reigns are going to lean into that. That's fine. They're very, very good at it. Cody and Randy should too, but I don't want the whole show being absolutely dragged down by it. Sometimes just come up with a story. Make up a story. You can do that. It's pro wrestling. And I think what we're doing with Rhea and Jade, I could be wrong here, although I don't see what else it could be. Jade is all like, look how great I look. I'm totally jacked and you try, but you're not as good as me. And Rhea's like, you do look great. You do look better than me aesthetically, but physically, and when it comes to the fight game, I've got you down. You don't know what you're doing. And as soon as I do smack you at WrestleMania, I'm going to pin you for the 1, 2, 3. I think we can lean into this. I think we can absolutely make it work. But in terms of what I saw on SmackDown, it felt a bit flat to me, and I don't know why. Now, maybe it does tie into these social media posts, which I'm being a hypocrite about, but I guess maybe there's some tension that we need to get rid of. It just felt a little disconnected to me, and I don't know why, because I do think it's a great match for WrestleMania. We talked about it before the Chamber. I advocated for Rhea Ripley winning and doing Rhea versus Jade, because there's just something to that. But this was... I was a bit confused. No, confused is too strong. I understood what was going on. It just left me wanting more. Now, thankfully, we still have 6 weeks to WrestleMania, and Rhea Ripley is a top-tier talent, as is Jade Cargill. I like both of them. So I think they can make it work. I suppose my confusion, to use that word again, is when all of a sudden Jade bumped into Meechin and B-Fab. I was like, no, we've gone back to last year. And listen, Meechin and B-Fab absolutely have their place in WWE. They're in there for fun. They didn't fluke their way to the top of the industry. But to go back to a story that we were teasing ages ago and wasn't even that exciting at the time because it just came and went with no real depth to it whatsoever. That to me is a mistake. So we're just not doing anything with Rhea and Jade next week. I think it should be all hands on deck for this one. So that was a little bit weird, as was Tag Team Turmoil. I could not believe it, right? I felt like I'd passed out and woken up in 2047 and missed 7 years of story. However, I liked it because I'm an absolute moron. But essentially, Damian Priest is talking to Nick Aldis and goes, man, I don't know how I'm going to get to WrestleMania. He goes, I do. You now team with R-Truth. And R-Truth walks in going, oh, yeah, I can't wait. What the flood was the Turmoil matches? It was so funny. It was Los Garza, who have vanished. We've not seen them in ages. But they're just back now, so you better accept it. It was the Motor City Machine Guns. It was Fraxium. It was the Wyatts. And it was Damian Priest and R-Truth. No idea what happened at the end of the Motor City Machine Guns versus Fraxium. Like Alex Shelley put Chris Sabin's foot on the ropes, but the rest still counted 3. But then that tied into them falling out later. It was totally bizarre. I have no idea what was going on. Then Los Garza all of a sudden go, well, you should have had us on our TV. Because they take out Fraxium and they take out the Wyatts, although the MFTs came out to continue that feud. There you go. There's something I don't like, the MFTs versus the Wyatts. When Solo Sikoa and Uncle Howdy had their promo later, and Uncle Howdy went, Solo Sikoa, I was like, no, I can't do it anymore. And I love Solo Sikoa. I think he's fantastic. And I love Bo Dallas, I was going to call him. There's his name, Uncle Howdy, whatever. I love him too. I think we never got that Bo Leave gimmick across on the main roster in the way that it was on NXT. A massive shame. We got to draw a line under this, and I thought that's what Tag Team Turmoil was all about, but they are still feuding, clearly, over a lantern, because we need light. Then we get to Los Garza versus, Truth and Priest. Is there a funny name there? Truth Priest, Priest Truth, Damien, R Damien. Maybe I'll work on it. Leave it with me. I'll come up with something dumb. Chokeslam, AA, 1, 2, 3, and they won. Now, sure, that makes them the number one contenders. As out of nowhere as this was, I was so damn pumped. And I think it comes back to the magic of professional wrestling, which is I just really like Damian Priest. I vibe with him, man. And I really like R-Truth. You know my deal with R-Truth, Goofy Wrestling for Life, which we will talk about in just 1 second. ProWrestlingTees.com// Simon Miller for dumb Simon Miller merchandise. Listen, the men's tag team scene on Raw and SmackDown needed something. And if Damian Priest had no direction and R-Truth obviously wasn't doing much of anything, I think I'm going to get a right kick out of this. And in my old age, that's what I really want. I just want somebody to put a smile on my face. And they are very good at doing that. Poor Damian Priest. There you go. You really want to talk about someone that got left in the wind. He beat Drew McIntyre in that cage match or whatever it was in the big end of their feud. Drew McIntyre went on to have whatever you want to call it, a world title reign. And Damian Priest sort of floated away into the tag division. But they have great chemistry, R-Truth and Damian Priest. They do have a history, obviously, going back to the Judgment Day, even though Damon fell out with him for a while. I have no idea where we're going with this. I would imagine a multi-man. I'm going to bore you again and say that we should merge these titles, the men's on Raw and SmackDown, and get back to that. Because the women's ones are doing very well. In fact, I'll talk about that right now. Because Nia Jax and Lash Legend come out, they're having a big champagne-a-thon when here come Alexa Bliss and Charlotte Flair. The cool thing is everyone had like a justification. Charlotte and Alexa were like, well, we only lost our belts because you helped the Kabuki Warriors win. You interfered, so we'd like a shot. And then Julia and Kiana James were like, well, Kiana James beat you all in the lead up to the Elimination Chamber in singles matches, so maybe we should talk about that too. Now, I don't think that should count. I don't think that singles and tag should be considered the same discipline, but maybe I'm a massive nerd. But anyway, we do Julia and Kiana versus Alexa and Charlotte. Alexa Charlotte won. Awesome. They should be the number one contenders. I can kind of see a multi-person match at WrestleMania again, although please be Io Sky versus Julia. I don't mind Julia getting pinned. I really, really don't. But when she's the US champion and we're doing nothing with that belt and we tease the fact Io could go after it, and I'm sure we just want her to jump to SmackDown a little bit after Rhea Ripley did so we could do that big breakup on Raw, which was nice. Like, it was a fun thing to see. And I think Rhea Ripley did a really, really sweet Instagram post about that, so I'm glad she had so much fun with it. That's what you want from professional wrestling. The only issue I have with it is she's the US champion. You're like, man, we're doing nothing with this. It's just totally lost, and I don't mind if W don't want to push Kiana James. If they see something in her, I want everybody to be pushed. Everybody should get their due. But that's the only weird thing with it. And she got hit with the natural selection 1, 2, 3. So listen, I mean, Charlotte and Alexa now have to be in the conversation for it. And you could do the one-on-one match. I think usually for a championship, one-on-one does better. But just to get a bunch of people on the card. But then again, Julia and Kiana James wouldn't be in it if it is Io versus Julia, which I think it should be. But we wait and see. But the women's belt just worked. And I think that's because you have your Raw teams, you have your SmackDown teams. Sometimes we merge them together, which we will do for WrestleMania. And even though Rhea and Io, who obviously are megastars, just lost them, it still feels like we're moving forward. And there was a time when WWE would have those belts vanish from television. So I like all this. I think it's actually quite fun. And it's way better than when the men's belts are. I will die on that hill. Kamala Hayes versus Wagner Jr. from AAA was also good. Not much to say about it. US title open challenge. It wasn't as good as some of the other matches, but still really fun. And again, what an amazing world we're living in. We cut to Ilya Dragunov after this, who quite clearly is going to be facing Kamala Hayes and some guys. But The Miz and Kit Wilson were also there doing a WWE My Rise skit, 2K My Rise. So maybe it ties into something there. I don't know. But the best thing on The Miz with this show was when Danhausen fights. Danhausen's the best thing about WWE. Within a week, my friends, it would have been a week today since he debuted. But he finds Nick Aldis. He wants his Demandhausens. And the thing he's really focusing on is his Hall of Fame induction. So can someone help him? So Nick Aldis finds The Miz. The Miz sold this like he'd been put on like the train to nowhere. Like, no, I don't want to do this. And of course, Danhausen reminds him, well, I'll curse you. And once I cursed Dominic Mysterio, that went really bad for him. I love it because for years, The Miz has been the gatekeeper, so to speak, of the main roster. You have to go through The Miz. And now we're doing it in a very, very strange but very, very fun way. The best line that was kind of throwaway is that Danhausen called him a nerd. And from nowhere, Danhausen went, I was a jock in school. I was the prom king. I love it. I just like, everyone goes, why doesn't he wrestle? He'll wrestle eventually. He doesn't need to. Just make me happy and entertain me and give me that goofy wrestling for life. I really find it entertaining in my own stupid world when people are like, you don't really like it. Yeah, you're right. I've just been talking about goofy wrestling and made a t-shirt, again, pro wrestling tees, for the last decade because I thought it would be fun. I thought I'd just make something up. This will do. This will get out there. What a waste of time that would have been. I can promise anyone that's watching, anything that comes out of my mouth, as long as I mean it in the right way, it's just how I feel. And I'm not that important. So you don't have to get that mad. At the same time, please get mad. It's good for business because I'm in the content game. But Danhausen is the best. I don't care that he got booed. Everybody joined in with his "you are cursed" catchphrase. It took him 2 shows to get over because of course it did, because Danhausen has been getting over the world across, right? He was over in AEW too. Some people are now pretending he was terrible in AEW. No, he wasn't. There was just an impasse there, or they wanted to go in different directions. This happens. It's business. It's a job at the end of the day. But you don't get over in random places and then do the same thing in WWE. It doesn't work. Usually you've perfected your craft and you do it on the biggest stage and it works there too. And that's exactly what's happened. Yours had Oba Femi totally destroying Johnny Gargano. I love Oba Femi so much. He could probably destroy my mum. And I'd be like, yeah, you get her. You get her, Oba. It was bizarre because Johnny Gargano is playing this weird, I'm just going to lay down, what do they call it? A something state. I can't remember the name now. But he was on a box-like structure and Alex Shelley tried to help him. Then Chris Sabin, oh my gosh, fell out with Alex Shelley. You cannot break up the machine guns. The worst idea ever. When Candice LeRae decided, maybe I should try and motivate you in 8 seconds, it worked. Johnny goes to the ring, open challenge, and Oba Femi kills him. Oba Femi is just awesome. And I actually think WWE is treating this wonderfully because even before, so Johnny goes, I challenge anyone, puts the mic down. Even before Oba Femi's music hit, everybody was going, Oba. And that means you're making this work. He has to take on Brock Lesnar at WrestleMania. I know Gunther's a bit of an outlier as well. Brock Lesnar is coming to the end of his career. No matter what you think about him, he's not the Brock Lesnar he once was because nobody would be. Oba Femi is the new Brock Lesnar in that big guy, I'm going to smash you guys. It's just the oldest thing in the book. You have Brock Lesnar run his mouth and Oba Femi beats him, and he should probably kill him in 2 minutes. I think that WWE may not do that, but it's absolutely time. And if they don't, we'll make a whole video about it, and we'll talk about it for a good 15 to 20 minutes. I hope they do, and I hope they realise that they've got their worth out of Brock Lesnar. Again, I've argued this till the cows come home too. I think he went from being the boss to the final boss, like the proper, oh my gosh, how am I going to kill you? You've got 72 different forms boss. When he did beat The Undertaker, I think that did justify the streak being broken, but that was 12 years ago, right? That's correct, yeah. So you've got the worth out of it, and now it's time, before you go over that mark, to take all the power in his skin and give it to Oba Femi. You got to do it right. Oba Femi is the guy. Even if Oba Femi gets booked badly, eventually he will find his way again because that's how good he was. So imagine where he can get to if we book him properly. I do feel sorry for Johnny Gargano. I'd have to imagine he's on his way out of the company, although I think he's under contract for a while. At the same time, I always want to point out that he's still being booked on international television, which is pretty cool. Like with the first time I took a bump, if you told me I'd be that guy, I'd bite your hand off. So that sounds absolutely fantastic. So I don't want to get too crazy here. Someone today told me that Drew McIntyre was a jobber because he lost the world title. I was like, oh my gosh, discourse is dead. If we think that you become the world champion, but you're a jobber because you lost to the face of the company. I can't. We're just saying things now and there's no going back, but I've moaned enough today. I don't want to do it. But Oba Femi is the man. I said this recently and everyone laughed at me. I said he's potentially my favorite wrestler ever. I stand by it. He is, if I had a fictional top 20 chart, let's say when I first saw him, it was 20, which makes no sense. This is a broken idea. He's now well into the top 10, right? And if he continues on this way, I'll definitely update you. Really good, really simple, and just goes to show you don't need to overthink wrestling sometimes. You got a big dude who's awesome. Let him be big and let him be awesome. I think that was the long and the short of it when it came to SmackDown. As always, if you want a case-by-case breakdown, check out What Culture, where I do freelance the reviews. This is just meant to be your more, we're sat down the pub having a chat about wrestling and no one's yelling at us, which is quite nice for 2026. More importantly, I need to know what you thought about SmackDown, especially everyone's going to want to talk about Cody versus Drew, which is why I put it at the front, right? You probably didn't even get to this point because you're so damn mad and you're now kicking a wall. The Sami Zayn kicked the wall, right? After his chat with Cody Rhodes. That's one of my best things, that interaction there. I thought it felt like an actual argument. I was like, man, that's good stuff. That's good promoing, as a man once said. But drop me a comment. When you are down there, please do like the video, share the video, and subscribe. Click my video on the screen, which is me talking about Randy Orton versus Cody Rhodes. And this is before the fact too, so you can see I doubled down on this. Otherwise, it is grillermind.com/Simon. Use code Simon to get 10% off ships worldwide. The best fitness supplements. They will help you, I promise. I would never say that otherwise. It would make me a terrible person. Patreon.com/Simon316, Simon316 on the internet to come yell at me like everybody else. I've done Patreon. What is it? Pro Wrestling Tees, TikTok, and Cameo. And I got 2 TikToks now. Follow me at Simon Miller or follow Under the Mat Show. Do it on YouTube as well. My brand new Between Two Ferns AEW interview series. Thank you for all the kind words. I overthink content, so when people are nice about it, it does give me a renewed confidence. More episodes coming soon. Have a lovely weekend, my friends. See you soon.